book of Joel, chapter 3, and verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. All praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Habushai, Baharo Kakudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect that seeking to be the elect of the nation of Israel. That scattered abroad amongst the heathen, some look like the heathen. Against the 144,000 preachers, teachers, and prophets. Shalom. And let's get, where is it? Right here.
Now that's where the fifth
says Iran now has nuclear weapons. And you know, I've always said they have them. Just on my spirit, man, it just makes sense for them to have them. But it's still not fully confirmed. But I still believe they have them. It don't make sense for them to not have them, regardless of if Russia, China gave them to them. You know, but they have the capabilities to make them if they don't even already have them made. But I want to play this real quick. I want to play the first 10 minutes and let them speak on it. And it makes perfect sense that they have them.
Does Iran...
But that's still just an excuse for them, for America and the Israelis to continue to bomb Lebanon and fight Iran. They're going to do that anyway because it's prophecy. They're going to do that anyway because they want Iran to fold over to the United States, man. And these Israelis. It ain't going to happen. All right? Now soon, these nuclear missiles going to fly. And these Babylonians going to die. The apostles going to die. A lot of people going to die. Soon, these nuclear missiles are going to destroy this Edomite power structure, destroy this base system, and at the same time, Lord and Savior Yahushua is going to deliver the elected Israel from the four corners of the earth, and the elected Israel is going to be ruling the galaxy. All right? Let's play this.
Already have.
So hey, we send about praying every second of the day that these things hurry up and play out, man. But we know we on Yahweh Shema Shah time. But hey, we can still hasten the day of the Lord. Yahweh Shema Shah, I know we crying to get up out of here. But I'm going to play the first 10 minutes. I'll put the rest in the description box if you want to check that out. I don't know when it's going to turn off, Shalom.
Does Iran already have a nuclear weapon? Well, we better buckle up because this changes everything. Multiple sources now reporting that Iran has a nuclear weapon, and maybe not just one bomb, but multiple bombs, or the components to put all of these together very quickly into multiple bombs. And so when you start to peel this onion back, so many oddities start to make sense. So many oddities that have taken place over the past few weeks start to make perfect sense. Comments from President Trump, comments from Israel, and the answers start falling into place when viewed through this lens. So more on that part of the story in a second. But first, how did we get here? Well, a few months ago on our show, we spoke with former UN Weapons Inspector Scott Ritter, who told us then that Iran had already enriched uranium beyond the 20% level that would be used for nuclear energy, that they had in fact enriched uranium beyond 60%, which is near the level at which you'd enrich uranium for nuclear weapons. Here is Scott Ritter on Mario Narfal's show later on, confirming that even he confronted Iranian Professor Marandi about this very issue. Listen.
Man, I said, why the hell do you have 60% enriched uranium? You don't need it. 20% is the max you need because 20% allows you to create fuel plates for the Tehran research reactor. Why do you need 60%? He said, because we need to be a threshold nuclear power. And I said, you know, you're basically waving a red flag at the bull at this point.
According to intelligence sources that I had spoken to, Iran had hit 80%, and that they had done so a while ago. Not only that, our sources told us that Israel had no idea that Iran had achieved this. In fact, Israeli intelligence was stunned to learn that Iran had nuclear weapons-grade uranium, over 80%. Shortly after these revelations, the war began again. And Trump started talking about getting Iran's nuclear dust. We have to collect their nuclear dust because it's all been destroyed. It's an odd statement. And then just like that, the war entered a bizarre ceasefire. What the hell happened? Something happened. Iran seemed to sit up straighter in their chair, telling the Americans that any future peace talks need not include any discussions about nuclear. Like, you mentioned nuclear, it's not a part of the discussions anymore. Take it off the table. That ship has sailed. And according to our sources, Iran has had enough enriched uranium for 8 to 12 nuclear weapons. The man who broke the story wide open last week is former CIA analyst Larry Johnson, who said the intelligence community in the United States believes, yes, that Iran already has nuclear weapons, perhaps multiple nuclear weapons. And interestingly, last week, Netanyahu fired the head of Israeli intelligence, the head of Mossad. And yesterday, the new head of Mossad, his first order of business was to fire his deputy. So when you have an intelligence failure this big, that could explain why Mossad is being gutted and heads are rolling. CIA analyst Larry Johnson joins me now to unpack all of this. Larry, first of all, incredible report this week, and I think where the mainstream media is largely ignoring it, but you blew the whistle, you blew the lid off of this. It's unbelievable. How do you think, maybe we start with this, how did Israel miss this?
Well, let me first say that it wasn't just me. Pepe Escobar and I worked on this together. And, I don't know how Israel missed it. All I can say is what I know for certain. What I know for certain is there is a source that Pepe and I have had access to in Pakistan who is extremely senior level. So we know we're not dealing with somebody who's, passing on gossip they picked up at the coffee shop or, hearing somebody talk in the bathroom. This is a person that would be directly involved with these activities. And we were told a week ago Thursday that the Iranian Supreme Security Council had met. They were livid over the attacks of the United States on two Iranian naval boats, small boats, and a communications center on Kemsh Island and some other attacks. Iran retaliated to each of those, but they felt that this was a violation. So they met, and President Pezeshkian was given marching orders: go call the Pakistani Prime Minister Sharif and tell him to tell the Americans, one, we're done talking. We're done talking until the blockade's lifted and you bring an end to these attacks in Lebanon. Two, we're not going to consider any kind of framework for controlling nuclear uranium, enriched uranium, and possible nuclear devices. And three, if these attacks don't stop, we're going to do a demonstration in Iran. We'll detonate something in Iran to let you know that we have a nuke. And then Sharif told his foreign minister, a guy named Dar, call Marco Rubio, and Marco Rubio was contacted. Now, I believe, based on my prior experience, that conversation between Pezeshkian and Sharif was intercepted by the National Security Agency. That's what they do, intercept conversations between leaders and others. So did the United States get that information? Robert Barnes confirmed that, in fact, when I came out with this story, Barnes ended up confirming through sources he had at the White House. Remember, he was Donald Trump's lawyer at one point, and he does have contacts in the Trump White House. And he said, yes, no, that the story as I presented it, that was true. Now, does that mean the United States knows for certain that Iran has a nuke? No. But Trump sure acted like they do. If you've noticed his complete change of demeanor and comments towards Iran since last Friday.
Yes. Well, this is what I referred to, these oddities.
Yeah.
These oddities, something shifted here. Something shifted.
Right.
Speak on these comments, because something strange is happening.
Yeah, well, used 3 weeks ago, he's talking about ending Iran as a civilization, referred to the Ayatollah as a homosexual, just insulting comments and scathing remarks directed at Iran. Now, the other day they asked him about, the ceasefire, and he said, "Oh, well, that part of the world has a different definition of ceasefire. They don't shoot as much, something like that." You're going, what? And beyond that, we've had this series of attacks where yesterday, the United States tried to move 4 ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran detected them. Iran, I think, fired a warning shot at one. At least 2 of the others turned around and went back. In response to that, the United States launched attacks on the weapons locations in Kemsh Island and along the coast, and at a communications center. Now, that's a whole, I can explain, I think, what's going on with that the commander for naval forces, U.S. naval forces, they're under instructions to try to identify and locate all of the both weapon systems and communication nodes that Iran uses to coordinate and shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And so by that, you can run in some decoys like these ships. They get lit up. The Iranians fire at them. Then we go back and fire at them. So that's what's been going on. But as that activity occurred, you didn't hear Trump come out and start threatening the Iranians. Not a word. Not a word. Hell, he got madder at Candace Owens.
I know. I mean, they cannot get a nuclear weapon. Oh boy, guess what? They already have one. And so now what? Now we're in a totally different world if this is true. And I have every reason to believe it is, because our reporting here, I didn't report it. I sat on this information for weeks, pulling in different data points. And then when you let the cat out of the bag, you and Pepe this week, I said, okay, these are pieces of that bigger story here. Yeah. One of the other pieces of this bigger story is Russia's involvement. So one thing I haven't reported, and I'll report it now, is that, as I mentioned at the top, we believe that Iran has enough nuclear material, cake, so forth, fully enriched for 8 to 12 nuclear warheads. Now, have they assembled them? We don't know. And are they fully assembled and ready to go? We don't know. But we do know, according to reports that I'm hearing, that the mechanisms came from Russia, that those pieces came from their friends to the north. Do you have any information that could also further that story?
I was told the exact same thing 4 days ago.
There you go. So the mechanisms, the pieces that you would need to take the cake, put it together, and launch these particular warheads has come from Russia.
Yeah. And the Russia-Chinese involvement, just a slight, let me take a minor detour from your story. I was watching the shelling, the attacks of the Iranians on Bahrain. Now, that's where the 5th Fleet headquarters was based. And I thought, well, why are they blowing up a base?
But yeah, I'm going to cut it off right there. I'll put the rest in the description box. Time gonna tell. I believe they already got it. Step pretty, but now y'all watch my show.